Have you ever sent a text to the wrong person and felt your heart drop? Now imagine that message was meant for your ex, a desperate plea about rent money, and it accidentally went to one of the most powerful men in America instead. For Sarah Mitchell, a single mother working double shifts just to keep the lights on, that mortifying mistake became the beginning of something she never saw coming. The fluorescent lights of Joe's diner flickered overhead as Sarah Mitchell wiped down table 7 for what felt like the 100th time that shift. Her feet ached, her lower back screamed in protest, and she still had 3 hours until closing. She glanced at the clock, 11:47 p.m. Her daughter Emma would be asleep by now, safe with Mrs. Chen next door. Thank God for small mercies. Sarah's phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She pulled it out, her stomach nodding when she saw the name, Marcus, Emma's dad. She hadn't heard from him in 2 months, not since he'd promised to send child support and then vanished like smoke. The text was short. "Can't do the $400 this month, sorry." Sarah felt her vision blur with angry tears. $400? That was it? That was all he'd agreed to contribute toward his own daughter's life, and he couldn't even manage that? The rent was due in 3 days, and she was already $230 short, even with her waitressing job and weekend cleaning gigs. Her fingers trembled as she typed back, not caring anymore about pride or dignity. "Marcus, please, I'm begging you. Emma needs new shoes. Her toes are literally poking through the old ones. The landlord already gave me an extension last month. I don't know what else to do. I've picked up every extra shift I can. I'm drowning here, and you're her father. $400, that's what you committed to. Please don't do this to us." She hit send before she could second-guess herself, then shoved the phone back in her pocket, feeling a mixture of shame and desperation wash over her. "Sarah, order up," Danny called from the kitchen. She grabbed the plates and forced a smile for the truckers at table 3, the same smile she had been perfecting for 6 years, the one that said everything was fine, even when it absolutely wasn't. 20 minutes later, during her break, Sarah checked her phone. No response from Marcus. Of course not. But there was a new message from an unknown number. "I think you have the wrong person, but I'm sorry you're going through this. What size shoes does Emma need?" Sarah's brow furrowed. Wrong person? She looked at the message she'd sent, and her blood turned to ice. The contact had read M. Harris. But it wasn't Marcus Harris. It was someone else entirely, someone whose number must have been saved similarly in her phone. Her hand shook as she typed, "Oh my God, I am so sorry. That message wasn't meant for you. Please just delete it. I'm mortified." The response came quickly. "No need to be embarrassed. Life is hard. I'm asking again, what size shoes does Emma need? And don't argue with me. I have more money than I know what to do with, and you have a kid who needs shoes. This is simple math." Sarah felt tears spring into her eyes, but these were different from the angry tears earlier. These were born of something more complicated, shame mixed with disbelief, mixed with desperate hope. "She wears a kid's size 2, Sarah finally typed. "But you don't have to do this. Already ordered. They'll arrive tomorrow. What about the rent?" "No, absolutely not. The shoes are already too generous. I can't accept money from a stranger." "Then let's not be strangers. I'm Michael. I grew up in Pittsburgh with a single mom who worked 3 jobs to keep us housed and fed. I know exactly what you're going through. Consider it paying forward what others did for us when I was a kid." Sarah wiped her eyes with her apron. "Michael, I don't know what to say. Say you'll meet me for coffee tomorrow. There's a diner near downtown, Joe's Diner. Know it?" Sarah let out a shocked laugh. "I'm literally standing in it right now. I work here." "Then you can't refuse. What time is your shift tomorrow?" "I work 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow." "Perfect. I'll see you at 2:30. And Sarah, try to get some sleep tonight. Everything's going to be okay." Sarah stared at her phone long after the screen went dark, wondering if she'd somehow fallen asleep at table 7 and this was all a dream. But when her shift ended at 3 a.m. and she dragged herself home to the cramped one-bedroom apartment she shared with Emma, the text conversation was still there, still real.
The next afternoon, Sarah changed out of her uniform in the diner's bathroom, pulling on her one decent pair of jeans and a clean sweater. Her hands were shaking as she reapplied her lipstick, trying not to think about the fact that she was about to have coffee with one of the most successful men in America. At exactly 2:30, the diner door opened and Michael Harris walked in. He wasn't what she expected. The magazines and news articles always showed him in sharp suits, looking intimidating and powerful. The man who approached her booth was wearing jeans, a simple gray Henley, and a warm smile that made him look more like a regular guy than a CEO worth billions. "Sarah?" he asked, and she nodded, half standing awkwardly before he gestured for her to sit. He slid into the opposite side of the booth. "It's nice to finally meet you in person." "Mr. Harris, Michael, please." He ordered coffee from Denise, Sarah's co-worker, who shot Sarah a curious look. "How was your shift?" "Long," Sarah laughed nervously. "They're all long. But Michael, I still can't believe you actually came, or that you ordered shoes for Emma. I checked the tracking this morning, and they're arriving in 2 hours. Thank you doesn't even begin to cover it." Michael's expression softened. "My mom wore the same pair of shoes for 5 years when I was growing up, because she always made sure I had what I needed first. I remember being Emma's age and watching her try to hide the holes in her soles. So when you said your daughter's toes were poking through, I saw my mom. I saw you. And I just thought, I have the ability to fix this in 30 seconds online. Why wouldn't I?" Sarah felt her throat tighten. "Because most people wouldn't. Most people would delete the message and move on with their day." "I'm not most people." He paused as Denise brought their coffee. "Look, I want to be upfront with you about something. I didn't just come here for coffee. I came because I have a proposition." Sarah's guard went up immediately. She'd learned the hard way that successful men didn't usually help single mothers out of pure kindness. "What kind of proposition?" Michael must have read her expression because he held up his hands. "Nothing weird, I promise. It's actually business-related. I've been looking for someone to manage food services for a new initiative at Orion Industries. We're expanding our employee wellness program, and part of that involves completely overhauling our cafeteria services across all our locations. I need someone who understands food service from the ground up. Someone who knows what it's like to work those jobs and can treat the staff with respect." "You want to hire me?" Sarah couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. "Michael, I'm a waitress. I have no management experience. No, you run this whole section of the diner solo during rush hour. I watched you for 20 minutes before I came in. You remembered orders without writing them down. You checked on every table multiple times. You helped Danny in the kitchen when things got backed up, and you still managed to joke around with the regulars. That's management. You just weren't getting paid or recognized for it." Sarah shook her head. "That's not the same as running food services for a major corporation. It's harder. You're doing it with inadequate support, long hours, and probably minimal appreciation. Imagine what you could do with actual resources." He pulled out his phone and showed her a number. "This is what the position pays annually, plus full benefits, including health care and a college fund for Emma." Sarah looked at the number and felt dizzy. It was more than she made in 2 years at the diner. "This is insane. We don't even know each other." "Then let's get to know each other. No pressure on the job. Just tell me about yourself, about Emma, about how you ended up sending a desperate text to a random billionaire." His smile was gentle, not mocking. So Sarah talked. She told him about getting pregnant at 22 with Marcus, who'd seemed charming and ambitious until Emma was born and he realized fatherhood wasn't the adventure he had imagined. She talked about him leaving when Emma was 2, promising to help, and then gradually fading away until he was just a name in her phone that caused more anxiety than comfort. She told Michael about working her way through community college classes at night, trying to finish the degree she'd started before Emma came along, about her daughter's love of dinosaurs and how she wanted to be a paleontologist, even though she had no idea how they'd ever afford the education that would require. "She's smart," she said, her voice full of fierce pride. "So smart it scares me sometimes. She deserves more than I can give her." "You're giving her everything," Michael said quietly. "You're giving her you. That's not nothing, Sarah. That's everything." They talked for 2 hours. Michael told her about growing up poor in Pittsburgh, about his mother working herself to exhaustion, about winning a scholarship to MIT and then building Orion Industries from nothing. He talked about the loneliness of success, how he was surrounded by people every day, but most of them only saw his money, not him. "That text you sent last night," he said, "was the most honest thing anyone said to me in months, maybe years. Everyone's always so careful around me, so conscious of saying the right thing. You were just real, desperate and scared and trying your best. It reminded me why I started this company in the first place, to create opportunities for people like us, people who started with nothing." Sarah walked out of the diner feeling like she'd stepped into someone else's life. At her apartment, she found Emma examining a large box with wonder. "Mommy, shoes came! Mrs. Chen said they're for me!" Emma's eyes were bright with excitement. Sarah opened the box with trembling hands. Inside weren't just shoes, there were 3 pairs. Sneakers, dress shoes, and boots for winter, all in Emma's size, and underneath them a note in neat handwriting. "Every kid deserves to have options. ... M." Emma threw her arms around Sarah's waist. "They're so pretty. Where did they come from?" "A friend. A new friend," Sarah said softly. Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah met with Michael 3 more times. Once at a coffee shop, once at Orion Industries headquarters where he showed her the cafeteria facilities, and once at a park where Emma came along and talked Michael's ear off about velociraptors while he listened with genuine interest. "She's amazing," he told Sarah, while Emma played on the swings. "Reminds me of myself at that age. Same curiosity about everything. She asks 1,000,000 questions a day. I can't always answer them." "That's good. It means she's learning to find answers on her own." He paused. "Have you thought about the job offer?" Sarah had thought of little else. She'd also done her research on Michael Harris, reading every article she could find. The picture that emerged was someone genuinely trying to use his wealth to make a difference. Scholarship programs for underprivileged students, investments in struggling communities, employee benefits that put other tech companies to shame. But she was still scared. What if I fail? What if I take this opportunity and prove I'm not capable of handling it? Then you fail, and you learn, and you try again. That's what I did about 100 times before Orion took off. He looked at her seriously. "Sarah, I'm not offering you this job because I feel sorry for you. I'm offering it because I genuinely believe you're the right person for it. But more than that, I'm offering it because I like you. I like talking to you. I like that you tell me when you think I'm wrong about something. I like that you're not afraid to be real with me." Sarah felt her heart skip. "Michael, I know this is complicated. I know I'm technically going to be your boss if you take this job. I know there's a power dynamic that makes this weird, but I can't stop thinking about you, about Emma, about the possibility of being part of your lives." He ran a hand through his hair, looking vulnerable in a way that she suspected few people ever saw. "I haven't felt this way about anyone in years, maybe ever." "I'm scared," Sarah admitted. "I'm scared this is too good to be true. I'm scared of depending on someone again and having them leave. I'm scared of Emma getting attached and getting hurt." "I'm scared too. I'm scared of screwing this up. But I think the potential of what we could be is worth the fear. Don't you?" Sarah looked at Emma on the swings, laughing as she went higher. She thought about the shoes with the note, about Michael listening to her talk about dinosaurs for 45 minutes without checking his phone once, about the way he looked at her like someone worth seeing. "Yes," she said finally. "I think it might be."
3 months later, Sarah stood in her new office at Orion Industries headquarters, looking out over the city. She'd taken the job, and it had been simultaneously harder and more rewarding than she'd imagined. She was learning constantly, making mistakes and fixing them, building a team and a program she was genuinely proud of. And Michael had been there every step of the way, not as her boss, but as her partner. They'd taken things slowly, mindful of Emma and the complications of their situation, but the feelings were undeniable. Emma burst into the office, something she never would have dared do 3 months ago, but now she treated Orion Industries like a second home. "Mom, Michael said he's taking us to the Natural History Museum tonight. They have a new T-Rex exhibit." Michael appeared behind her, smiling apologetically. "Sorry, I couldn't resist telling her. She's been talking about that exhibit for weeks." Sarah laughed, feeling a warmth in her chest that she'd forgotten was possible. "You're spoiling her." "I'm spoiling both of you," Michael said, coming closer, "and I plan to keep doing it for a very long time if you'll let me." Emma looked between them with the two knowing eyes of a 6-year-old. "Are you guys going to get married?" "Emma!" Sarah felt her face flush. But Michael knelt down to Emma's level. "Would you be okay with that, if I asked your mom to marry me someday?" Emma considered this seriously. "Would we get to live in your big house?" "If you wanted to." "Would you help me build the dinosaur diorama for my school project?" "Absolutely." "Would you promise not to leave like my dad did?" Michael's expression grew solemn. "Emma, I promise you right now, I'm not going anywhere. Your mom and you are the best things that ever happened to me. I'd be the luckiest man alive if you'd let me be part of your family." Emma threw her arms around his neck. "Okay then, you can marry Mom." Sarah wiped tears from her eyes as Michael stood and pulled her close. "I love you," he said quietly. "Both of you. I know it's fast, but I've never been more sure of anything." "I love you too," she whispered back. "This still feels like a dream sometimes, like I'm going to wake up back at the diner still struggling to pay rent." "It's not a dream. It's us. It's real." He kissed her forehead. "And it all started with a wrong number text, the best mistake you ever made." Sarah laughed through her tears. "The best mistake I ever made." As they left the office together, Emma between them holding both their hands and chattering about dinosaurs, Sarah thought about that desperate night 3 months ago, about typing out a plea to the wrong person and accidentally finding the right one, about the worst moments of her life had somehow led to the best. She'd been drowning, barely keeping her head above water, and then a stranger had reached down and pulled her up. Not just with money or a job, but with kindness, respect, and eventually, love. Michael had seen her, really seen her, when she'd been at her lowest. "Hey," Michael said, squeezing her hand. "What are you thinking about?" "Just that I'm really glad I saved your number wrong in my phone." "Me too. Remind me to send a thank you note to some Marcus someday." "Absolutely not." They walked out into the evening sun, a little family built on mistakes and miracles, on second chances and new beginnings, and Sarah finally understood what it felt like to stop drowning and start living. Sometimes, she thought, the wrong number is exactly the right one. The end.